Welcome back to 305 Insights. I'm your host, Alan Somerton, and today we're going to be reviewing the Miami Hurricanes versus the Ball State Cardinals. It was a blowout. It's one of the largest shutout victories in program history. The final score was 62 to nothing. And they scored double digits in every single quarter. And yeah, their 62-point shutout is the largest versus an FBS opponent in program history. They have scored 159 points through 3 games, which is the most in school history. In this game, they had 750 yards of total offense, which is another school record. And Cam Ward is making this team on offense look like a juggernaut. And I know it hasn't been the toughest schedule at all outside of the Florida game. But this is what good teams do. They go out and they beat the teams that they're supposed to beat and dominate the teams that they're supposed to dominate. And just, again, when we review their schedule, this is a team that should win every single game. And it's how you win those games. These games are vital in the sense of you get players reps, the starters and whatnot, and then you get other players in the game. Like, we'll get back to Cam Ward, but for example, Chris Johnson Jr., the redshirt freshman, 37-yard TD catch. And he had 4 carries for 12 yards and 3 receptions for 53. This is a loaded running back room. Damian Martinez only had 3 carries for 3 yards. He wasn't really going to play much. Ajayi Allen, in one drive, I believe he had 90 yards by himself. He was the drive. It was just 2 carries for him. And it ended with a 56-yard touchdown. 7 carries for 104 yards with said TD. Jordan Lyle, 11 carries, 71 yards, 1 touchdown. Mark Fletcher, 6 carries for 53 yards. The team total was 31 carries for 243 yards and 2 touchdowns with an average of 7.8 yards a carry. Again, those were a lot of young guys playing. Emory Williams got into the game and went 11 of 12 for 161 yards and a touchdown. They had over, I believe it was 12 wide receivers, but I know for sure it was over 10. Catch a football. Jacoby George, 6 for 109 with a touchdown. Elijah Royal, 253 with a touchdown. We already talked about Chris Johnson. Ray Joseph, one of the young wide receivers that you're hoping is one of the future cornerstones. 2 for 52. Elijah Lofton, 2 for 51 with a touchdown. Xavier Restrepo, Mr. Reliable, 2 touchdowns on 3 catches for 47 yards. Samuel Brown, 5 for 44. Isaiah Horton, 3 for 34. Milo Williams, 1 for 24. Mark Fletcher, 1 of 16. JoJo Trader, another one that you really want to bank on in the future. He had a catch for 15 yards. Cam McCormick, the doctor, 12th-year senior, whatever he is at this point, 1 catch for 9 yards. They finished with 507 receiving yards because Cam Ward went 19 of 28 for 346 yards and 5 touchdowns. Folks, this is insane. Absolutely insane, the start that they're on. Let me repeat that again. 5 touchdowns, 346 yards. I know it's Ball State, but again, 10 in the first, 21 in the second, 10 in the third, 21 in the fourth, 62 to nothing. The defense went out there and did their job. The linebackers, Maoga and Wesley, 12 tackles, 1 tackle for loss. Simeon Barrow had a sack and a half. Malik Bryant had a sack. Elijah Austin had a sack. Tyler Barron had a sack. And then again, you're playing the young guys. You had Booker Pickett playing. You had Justin Scott playing. Saquon Patterson. You had a lot of these guys playing. Elijah Austin also had an interception. Just a great all-around game by this team. For the year, Cam Ward is 65 for 89. That's a 73% completion percentage. He has 1,035 yards with 11 touchdowns and 1 interception. Barrett and Barrow combined for 6 tackles, 2 sacks, and 3 tackles for losses. It's the kind of performance that reminds you of the good old days. Because again, people forget. You kind of enjoy this ride where it's like so far 3-0. You know, you set the record for most yards in a game. You set the record for biggest shutout victory against an FBS opponent. You're setting the record for most points scored through 3 games, all that stuff. This is a team that not too long ago lost to Middle Tennessee State. Okay? You got to remember the journey in which you came. You got to remember what happened in the past and where they are now, why that makes it so much better. You had 22 chunk plays, 17 passes that were 15 plus yards, 5 runs that were 10 plus yards. You had a possession of almost 33 minutes for the time of possession, 31 first downs. On the money down, third down, you were 7-11, 1-1 on fourth down. You had 16.2 yards per completion, 10.6 yards per play. And like we spoke about already, the 7.8 yards per rush. You're 4-5 in the red zone, 4 sacks, 6 QB hurries, 5 pass breakups, 9 tackle for losses. The interception. This defense held a Ball State team that had a pretty good offense to 109 passing yards and 6 rushing yards. 6. And if you take away the sacks, and in college football, let's remember, sacks actually count as negative rushing yards, so they count towards the rushing totals. Ball State had 31 yards on the ground, 2.2 yards per play overall. 1 of 12 on third down, which is the money down. 9 first downs for the game. Just, again, the coaching staff is keeping these kids ready to play. And again, you're trying to withhold a certain level of excitement because of the schedule that they've had so far. But make no mistake about it, folks. This should be a special season for the U. And again, when we're talking about these young players, you're not going to see them throughout the year. Remember, in college football, you have 4 games to play before you can redshirt. So Emory Williams got some playing time today. Like I said, he went 11 of 12. But the coaching staff, Dawson and Cristobal, have already stated clearly he is going to redshirt this year. So you get him into one of these games. Get that confidence up again. Because last time we saw him, he suffered an injury against Florida State. There's a lot of depth on this team right now. 12 wide receivers catching the ball. 5 running backs carrying the ball. And a lot of those guys are coming back. Sure, you're not going to have Martinez or Restrepo, maybe even Jacoby George. Some of those guys might not come back. But you're going to have Mark Fletcher coming back. You're going to have Chris Johnson Jr. coming back. You're going to have, ideally, JoJo Trader making a a leap next year into the starting role. Ray Joseph. You're going to have Jordan Lyle at running back. You're probably going to have Emory Williams starting. And then we're not even talking about the defense with the young kids on that defensive line that are playing. You're going to see Armando Blunt probably next year. He's getting sprinkled in there right now at 17 years old because he reclassified from 2025 to 2024. Justin Scott's getting some playing time. Like we talked about Zaquan Patterson as well. This team's firing on all cylinders right now, and they're still not fully healthy on the defensive line with Ruben Bain, or on the back end with Damari Brown still injured as well. There's a lot to look at in a positive light with this program. And you got to keep the momentum going. You are the dominant program in the state right now. Florida is in shambles. Florida State is lost. The Gators are going to fire their coach. The Seminoles are going to probably clean house outside of Norvell with their coaching staff. Or a lot of people are going to be gone. There's going to be a lot of turmoil on both coaching staffs. The state of Florida is one of the best, most fertile recruiting grounds for impact high school football players. With this type of season, you can see a lot of potential flips, convincing homegrown players that may be going to Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, etc., that it's good to stay home because the program is back on track. Once they get the train going, it's not going to stop. Again, we spoke about this in the past. Cristobal had 2 top 8 recruiting classes. I believe it was number 5 or number 3 and number 8 off of a 5-win season and a 7-win season. Imagine if this team fulfills its potential and makes the college football playoff, wins the ACC, all that good stuff. And who's to say they may not make a deep run in the college football playoffs? But even if they just fulfill their potential of winning the ACC and making the college football playoffs, that is an incredible sales pitch for a salesman the caliber of Mario to pitch to the parents, to pitch to the kids. Folks, when I said Florida State's having a long season, it's the complete opposite for the Hurricanes. Right now, you want to enjoy every single game. There's not a lot of speed bumps on this schedule. The game coming up against USF, I believe, are they going to be tougher than the Florida game? Maybe. It's another away game. Last time I saw on the Hard Rock Bet app, they were a 17-point favorite. We'll see how that line holds throughout the week. But again, if you're more than a 2-touchdown favorite for an away game, you're pretty heavily favored, folks. I've said it already. I'll say it again. There's a lot to be excited about this program right now. There's a lot of synergy with this coaching staff. We talked about that when Cristobal made all those hires a few years ago with Dawson, with Jason Taylor. I believe they made, 7 new hires on their coaching staff. And again, folks, it's night and day compared to what you expected from where they were when Mario Cristobal first came here and where they are now. Remember, you had the offensive coordinator from Michigan that you poached, Josh Gaddis, and that didn't work out the way you hoped. So you turn around and you hire Shannon Dawson as your offensive coordinator / quarterbacks coach. Kevin Steele was a man who had a wealth of experience coaching in the SEC all over the country. And that didn't work out as expected. So you have to have the tough decisions to let him go. And you turn around and you hire Lance Guidry. There's, again, we talk about the synergy that is going on with this coaching staff. That being said, folks, again, there's 3 major schools in the state, and UM is head and shoulders above everybody else right now. It's up to Cristobal to continue the domination. It's up to this staff to continue the domination and capitalize and reap the benefits in the high school recruiting. Because then it's even easier to dip in that transfer portal if you need to. It's a short one here, folks, because, again, Ball State. Don't really want to dive too much into it. But great win by this program. And we'll see how they do next week against USF. As we come up in the program, you guys know the drill. Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube. Like, subscribe, follow. Do whatever you can and get those notifications when we post these podcasts. It's college football season. I'm going to be churning them out. We'll be getting some NFL ones in as well. So, thanks for listening to this one, folks. Thanks for stopping by. Have a good one, and we'll catch you next time here on 305 Insights.